Before we begin, I'd just like to thank the new paid supporters to the show. On Spotify, I'd like to thank Annalise, Lindsay, Jonathan, and Aaron. Welcome on board. And over on Substack, I'd also like to thank Sophie. I'd like to thank Lucia Williams. And I'd really like to thank Keir Kirby. Keir Kirby is the lady who sang the song Groove is in the Heart. She left a message, Doc Malik, to hear voices of truth sharing ideas is surely one of the best examples you could set to uplift, inspire and motivate us. Thank you. I think of you and smile. Groove is in your heart. Keir Kirby from D Line. Wow. That's a lovely message to receive. And lastly, I'd like to thank Wendy Webb. Thanks for all of you who've subscribed. I'm sorry if I've missed any names. I know times are tough and, everything adds up. Inflation is rampant and it's not easy. There's so many people to support out there. So those of you who've stuck with me from the beginning and, believe in this show and believe in what I'm doing, I'd just like to say thank you very much. All right, folks, enjoy the show. Before we begin, I want to quickly explain a small but important change to how this podcast works. Up until now, many of you will know that 1 in 3 episodes sat behind a paywall. I'm moving away from that model. From now on, the first half of every main podcast episode will be free for everyone. These conversations remain open and accessible, and that's important to me. For those who choose to support the show, the second half of each episode will be reserved for paid supporters. This is where the conversation often deepens, and it now includes a live interactive segment where supporters can ask questions of my guests and of me. If you value this work and want access to the full conversation, the ability to ask questions, and to join our private Telegram community, please consider becoming a supporter. Your support keeps this podcast independent, uncaptured, and alive, and sponsor and ad-free. Thanks for being here. Now, let's get into this conversation.
You are listening to the Doc Malik podcast. This show is 100% independent and fully funded by listeners like yourself. So, if you wish to support Ahmed in all that he is doing, then please subscribe to his channel on Spotify or his Substack. Or simply buy him a coffee with a one-off donation, links to which can be found at docmalik.com. Now, let's get on with the show.
Now, I'm being serious. You might be thinking, why is this guy saying, I'm pale, he's a brown guy? Trust me, this brown guy tans.
Yes.
And when I'm in the sun, I become a little golden boy, right? Proper golden. And because it's been so dark and so grey, I've just started to become a bit grey brown.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I get you. Yeah, no, I'm feeling particularly pale at the moment. I hate it. I miss being in the sun. I mean, I've just come back. I was away for 2 years. So I lived in Portugal for a bit, Spain, spent 9 months in Morocco.
Nice.
It was amazing. £400 a month and you can have a, 2-story house on the beach with a pool and you just,
What?
Yeah.
That cheap?
Oh, God, yeah.
Why are you back?
Well, it was £15 a bottle of wine and I didn't really fancy paying that anymore. No, I'm only kidding. No, we actually, we left Morocco. Do you know what? Morocco is a great place to be. Culturally, we found it really difficult.
In what sense?
Well, it's like the way that the women were treated out there and the kids and everything like that. And, we stuck out like a sore thumb. We weren't in a particularly touristy town, so we did stick out a bit. And it just became really difficult. And, like simple things that we take for granted here in the UK, right? Popping to the shop to go buy some milk or whatever. When every action is hard work, it becomes very, very tiring very quickly.
Hard work in what sense?
Well, in the sense that, that there's very little convenience. If you want to go shopping, that's a daily activity. That's a whole day taken out of the equation because there's no supermarkets. You have to go here. You have to go to the chicken shop. You have to go to the meat shop.
Oh, wow.
It was very, very much like that. And we wanted to do something different, and we thought about setting up a community, a homeschooling community, which we went through the process of doing in Portugal. And then it just all fell apart.
In Morocco?
No, in Portugal. So we moved from Morocco to Portugal, found a piece of land that was basically, it was a campsite before. We took it over to turn it into like a homeschool, world schooling community. And we were going to have 6 families that lived there full time with us. And then they would it would pay for itself by families coming and staying for a couple of weeks, and would do activities with the kids and everything like that. It all fell apart because trying to get visas to live in Portugal was an absolute nightmare. So we could only be there for 3 months, and then we'd have to come back for 3 months, back there for 3 months, blah, 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 blah. So it just didn't work.
It's too much.
Yeah, too much.
And what do you do in Morocco? I mean, that's a very exotic place.
What did I do in Morocco?
Yeah,
I
for 2 years.
dicked around playing with my podcast and talking about UFOs and doing all weird and wonderful things while my wife was working online. She was a hypnotherapist, or she still is a hypnotherapist. So she only had to work a couple of hours a day in Morocco. You know, you don't need a lot of money to live, so it was easy. It was great in that sense, and I got to spend so much time with the kids, which you just take for granted.
Big town or a little town?
It was a medium-sized town.
How'd you pick it? Like, how did you say, right, we're going to go here?
We heard about it from somebody else. You know, social media is great for this. Facebook, I mean, it's probably the only thing I actually use Facebook for now, is connecting with people like that. And when you're world schooling and you're traveling around the world, it's the best way to find out where people are, or, you know, what experiences people have had in certain places. So we ended up in this little town called Malik, in Morocco, in the south, on the beach, and it was great, but there was definitely challenging parts about it, you know. And the main thing is just that stark cultural difference, you know. So when we came back, we were ready to be back in Europe. Funny story though, actually, because we went over there, we had our dogs. We've got 2 dogs, and they came traveling with us, and we did all the paperwork to get them into Morocco. But nobody knows or understands the paperwork of actually getting your dogs back out again. So we actually had to smuggle our own dogs out of Morocco.
What?
Yeah. So they were in the front footwell of the car underneath a boogie board as we were driving through customs coming off the ferry into Spain. And they were stopping absolutely everybody and pulling everybody out of their car. And we were like, oh, God, we're going to get caught. The dogs are going to get taken away and everything like this. And
they're going to yap.
Yeah.
Yelp.
And this guy in the queue pulled in front of us and sort of stole our space. And the immigration people were like, stop. We saw what you did. You go back. And there's like, you can go now. And just waved us through. And I was like, oh, my God. Like the sense of relief at that point was intense.
Did they really like their dogs and don't want people to take them? Is that what? Well,
do you know what it is? It's obviously like rabies and things like that, and rabies controls and everything. But they'd been vaccinated before we went into Morocco, obviously. And then we realised that the Moroccan government actually like you to do it again and then make you wait 3 months after that vaccination before you're allowed to leave. So it's like, we either leave now and smuggle the dogs out, or we're stuck here for another 3 months. And everybody just said what everybody does is they just hide their dogs. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. But Jesus, yeah,
stressful.
It was very stressful.
Do you know what? I don't know about any of this stuff now. Rabies vaccines and rabies. I just don't want another injection into any of my pets or any of my kids or me.
No.
And you know, I did all the yellow fever vaccinations and all the vaccinations as a medical student. After COVID, game over.
Yeah.
Game over. You know, I've got books like this. You know. You know, I just not sold on the whole vaccine thing. Anyway, moving on. You have a very exciting life. Morocco, Portugal, this and that. Fascinating. Yeah. And you ran pubs as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You owned the pubs, or you just ran them?
No. So the last pub we had was with a brewery. So we owned the business, and then the brewery owned the building, basically. And that was the Swan in Midhurst, which is a fantastic pub. So yeah, I used to run pubs, and then sort of gave that up after COVID.
Why?
Because it was just too hard. And do you know what? To be completely honest with you, after COVID, you know, I spent basically that year or longer refitting an entire pub, and then you open up again and you're drinking and you're drinking and you're drinking, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to drink myself into an early grave. You know, I need to get out of this. You know, I got to the point where I could act sober after 3 bottles of wine while working.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that just because you ran a pub meant that you have to drink.
Well, you don't have to. Like, you've got your friends at the bar, everybody's having a drink and everything like that. And do you know what? There's so much expectation to be this like outgoing person that actually when you're on the other, what people don't realize is when you're on the other side of the bar and you're a landlord, or you're a good member of staff, you're always putting on a show for everybody. You're always being what everybody else needs you to be, and that becomes really tiring and really hard after a while.
You need to be good at listening.
Yeah.
You need to listen to all their problems and all their sorrows and all their relationship problems and their bad bosses.
Yeah.
And you're like a priest, aren't you?
Yeah, well, but they also want you to always be on form, right? They want to talk to you and share their problems with you, but they don't need your problems, you know? So I had to stop and do something different. And then I sort of spent the last sort of 3 years twiddling my thumbs, playing at this, trying to do that, trying to figure out what it is I want to do next. And it's led me to where I am now and what I'm doing now, which I love.
It's not easy, is it? Changing what you do. Like you get into a steady state, you're comfortable, and just reinventing yourself. It's not easy.
No, it's not easy, especially when there's such a sort of sharp learning curve as well. You know, I mean, documentary film editing and producing and directing, which is what I'm doing now, couldn't be further away from, you know, standing behind a bar pulling pints. So literally the last 3 or 4 years of my life has just been sort of leading me to this point, slowly picking up skills, learning. I mean, like you, I started with a podcast, which I ran for 3 years. And every step of the way just sort of taught me something new. I learned how to edit. I learned about cameras and lighting and audio and everything like that. And it's led me to where I am now. And I love doing what I'm doing now.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
We will get there. We will get there. But just off air, we were having coffee.
Yeah.
And man, you've had a tough life.
Yeah.
I think this is important we talk about this.
I'm happy to talk about anything.
I know you are. But the reason why is I'm always curious about people, like, how do they get where they are right now?
Yeah.
Like, what forged them into the person that they are? You know, why are they different?
Yeah.
And you are different.
Yeah.
And you could have a 9-to-5 job.
No.
You could do that, but you're not.
I couldn't do that.
You couldn't do that.
No,
exactly.
I couldn't
do that.
I couldn't. No. And I don't think I could actually work for anybody else ever again in that sense, you know. I used to run pubs for large chain groups like ASK, ZZ's, Gaucho and stuff like that. And I did that for years. I could never do that again. Because I find other people's I find it very frustrating when I would think about doing something a different way and I don't agree with it. And, you know, I've got a very strong moral compass, I think. And I know how things should be done, and I get very frustrated when they're not done that way.
You sound like me.
Yeah.
Do you not find that the highest bar that you set is actually for yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
And then the problem is when you expect others to meet that bar too, when actually that's quite unfair because you set it so high for yourself.
Yeah.
And I suffered from imposter syndrome for a very long time. I never thought I was good enough. And looking back, I think it's because I also never thought I never loved myself. I never thought I could be loved. And it all stems from my childhood and my parents, very dysfunctional family, upbringing, fighting, arguing, and throwing the fact that you're an immigrant family and a working class background, and then you go to an affluent school, but you're the poorest family there. And, you know, it's just all this baggage that you're just carrying. Yeah. And then you grow up in the cult. And then, it's just, you know, just one thing after another. And you just don't, I just found that I didn't love myself. And I was always suffering from imposter syndrome. Yeah. Because I thought somebody's going to one day say, hey, why are you a surgeon? You're not good enough to be a surgeon or whatever. Yeah. And I went on a magic mushroom trip and it kind of showed me all of this.
Really?
Yeah, I met my younger 5-year-old self and embraced him and told him he is loved. Yeah. And then for the first time in my life, I felt loved and whole. But I'm wondering whether it's your childhood and everything that's driven you, because you sound so similar to me in what you're describing.
It does sound similar from what you're saying as well. But yeah, my childhood obviously has effectively start that again. My childhood has obviously affected me greatly. I mean, absolutely. I mean, the things I went through when I was younger and the experiences I had have definitely molded me into the person I am today. I think you can look at things that happen to you in your life and you can spend the rest of your life regretting it going and feeling victimized because of what happened to you when you were younger or the experiences you had, or you can use that. And I think I took what happened to me when I was younger and I used that and I made sure that wasn't going to happen again. Or when you have children, you strive to make sure that things that you experienced, they're not going to experience.
Because you were 11 when you're...
Yeah, my mum left when I was 11. She moved to Greece. I have a great relationship with my mum now. But yeah, when I was 11, she left in the middle of the night, moved to Greece, ended up marrying a guy, a Yugoslavian guy out in Greece. Well, they actually married when they moved back to England. But he wasn't a very nice guy. He was abusive, violent, wasn't a good situation. I was left at home with my father from the age of 11, who then turned out not to be my father, which I found out in my 20s. But I was raised by somebody else from the age of 11, a friend of the family, who took me in with her 2 kids and raised me from the age of 11 till I was about 17, 18.
How did that make you feel as an 11-year-old? Like, did your mum tell you she was leaving, or did she literally just leave in the middle of the night?
No, she just left in the middle of the night.
Did she leave you any note or explain?
Do you know what? My recollection of that period of my life is so grey. I mean, I pretty much before the age of 11, I have zero memories.
That's your body protecting itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the reason why I found out that my father wasn't my father was in my early 20s. I was going through a stage of passing out sort of almost daily, like completely blacking out. Went into hospital, was in hospital for 2 weeks so they could do tests and figure out what it was, and they couldn't figure out anything that was wrong, but I was just blacking out. And it was my brain sort of like protecting me, and it was going to shutdown mode.
Yeah, literally.
And I remember Jo, who was the woman who raised me from the age of 11, she was then living in Portugal. She said, come out and see me, which I did to take a break. And I remember sitting up with her until 3 o'clock in the morning the first night I got there, and she was like, I know there's a question deep down in you that you need to ask me, and if you ask me, I'll give you an honest answer. And then my brain just clicked, and I went, is my dad my real dad? And she went, no.
Why did you ask that question?
I don't know. It came out of me, I think there's so much in our brains, in our minds that we don't understand.
You have this innate feeling.
And it just came to me, and I'd never questioned it before, but at that moment I was like, oh God. Yeah,
did you feel like your dad wasn't loving you enough, or didn't love you properly, or what was it?
No, I mean, he was always a tough cookie anyway. I mean, he was not a good man. He was not a good father to me or to my brothers and sisters. I don't speak to him anymore. I haven't spoken to him probably for, how old's my son? 9. Yeah, so I haven't spoken to him in 9 years.
I guess he knew that you weren't his son. Yeah,
they always knew. The whole family knew. Everybody knew apart from me, which is why Jo knew. But yeah.
Wow. Jo sounds like an amazing lady.
She is an amazing woman. Yeah, she really saved me. And I attribute a lot of who I am today to her.
God bless her.
Yeah, indeed.
And so what do you think what are the lessons that you've learned, and how's it shaped you into who you are now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess it's just, I don't know. I think when I was growing up, I saw Jo as this very strong, independent person. She was doing very well for herself. She was on TV and everything like that. And that molded me into who I am today. I always aspired to do something like that. She was always a person that would see what I'm capable of and try and push me to do it all the time, which I don't think I'd had before, previously. So yeah, I think at that young age of 11, I think she really sort of started molding me into the person that I am today. And as I said to you before, you could take things like this and you can let it mess you up for your entire life, or you can take that and use it. I've had so many people say to me, "Oh, you should go to counselling." I was like, "Why do I need to go to counselling?" I did it when I was younger, in my 20s, when I was going through all of this. I was like, "But why do I need to do it now? I've accepted what's happened to me in my past. I don't feel victim to what happened to me in my past. I actually now have an exceptional relationship with my mother. We get on incredibly well now. But I don't need therapy to keep readdressing it when actually I've come to terms with it."
And I think that's really important. And the fact that you've got a nice relationship with your mother tells me that, you're not bitter, you're not angry, you're not playing the victim anymore. You're like, or that you ever were. It's the fact that you can see your mother for who she was. She's just another human being. She's still just a child. We all are children. We all make mistakes. And she went on her own journey. And, the fact that she went off to Greece and left you doesn't mean that you're not lovable.
Yeah.
That's her issue, not your.
Yeah. I mean, for a long time, it did leave me with abandonment issues, you know, as of course it's going to.
Of course
I mean,
it is.
and if I'm honest, I still carry that with me today, but it's just, I can accept it. I know that it's there. I know why I do certain things, and that's not going to go, you know, short of doing a mushroom trip and, you know, embracing my 11-year-old self, which I wouldn't be against doing, by the way. I don't think that that's going to change anytime, you know, but I'm happy with who I am.
I had a guest on my show, Nikita Stark, and she's amazing. She talks about the types of trauma that you can get, and typically it's before the age of 7.
Yeah.
And often you do exactly what you do, which is you actually blanket. You put layers and layers of protection on. You put that memory of whatever, you know, traumatized you deep in a box in a vault, chain it, close it, put it in the back of your mind, deep, deep, dark, where no one can find it, not even yourself. And but it's at the root of a lot of our problems as adults. So there's a sense of, you know, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, that you're unlovable, that you'll be abandoned or you'll be rejected. And abandoned and rejected are different things. And these traumas, and they don't have to be sexual or physical, it can be psychological, mental, it could be lots of different things. They can cause a lot of the problems that happen as you grow up.
Yep.
And you know, I've just done a podcast with someone called Amy Lansky, and her latest book, Synchrony, and she talks about what makes you unhealthy. And there's the physical part of your body, then there's other parts of your body that she describes, like ethereal and mental and causal and astral. And I really now have come to the conclusion that a lot of trauma manifests as physical disease.
Yeah.
And to fix things physically, sometimes you need to deep delve into your trauma, and resolve that and heal that. And it's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can talk about this openly like you are right now and be vulnerable, I feel like shows how far you have come in your own journey.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people live very fake, inauthentic lives. And I think that's the mask. That's the mask that they're just projecting out there, and it's covering up all their little flaws and cracks because they're scared to show that.
Oh God, to see it all the time. I've got very close friends and I love them to pieces, but you can see that in them all the time. Or the way that people, you know, I don't know, I feel like it's almost like people have been programmed right now, you know. And yes, I think there's several things that do that. I think there, as you say, there is your own trauma and your own protective screen that you put up to save yourself from experiencing or feeling something you felt when you were younger. Yeah, absolutely. And then I think there's also the sort of the status quo and the programming that society is giving us to make sure that we conform and sit in a box. And you talk about things, or you say things where you sort of try and break away from that, and you can see the programming come down on people and go, no, that's not true. And I was like, well, there's the evidence, and they'll go, well, that's a lie. You know, they can't process that. And I think that's happening. I think that happens a lot. But I think, as I said, you know, I think that happens by what happened to you as a child, the way you deal with that, and also, you know, the programming that society is giving us at the moment.
So what was your podcast about? You know, the one that you did for about 3 years. What was that actually on, and what was it called?
That was called, well, it was originally called the Unidentified Anomalous Podcast, which was, it was a UFO podcast. It was a UFO podcast. So I interviewed whistleblowers in the States, scientists, and all sorts of weird, wonderful people, experiencers.
And so I need to ask you, why on earth did you pick a podcast on UFO? I take it you believe in UFOs? Were you
I
abducted?
saw one when I was 11.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about this.
Okay, so and funnily enough, it was when I was 11. So I was still living with my father at the time, and I remember we lived in Lincoln, and
This is before or after your mum?
Just after.
Okay.
Yeah, just after. So we were driving down at night to go to London. I think he was seeing a girlfriend or something like that. We were staying at a girlfriend's for the weekend, and I was coming down. And I remember looking outside the passenger window up at the sky, and I got fixated on this star in the sky, and all of a sudden the star just sort of dropped and then stopped and then shot off in the other direction. And then from that point on, I was like, well, what else could that be? And
Big star or small star?
It was, yeah, it's sort of like the brightest star in the sky kind of looking thing. And then it just sort of dropped, and then it shot off in the other direction. I was like, well, what can do that? And then I became fascinated with it. And then sort of you become older, you get in your 20s, you start having kids and stuff like that. And you sort of put away those childish thoughts, and then you get to your 40s and you start having a midlife crisis, and it all comes back to you. But I've had some very, very weird things happen to me.
Like, as if what you've described hasn't been weird enough.
Oh no, I had an abduction experience when I was in Morocco.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I had an abduction experience in Morocco.
What, by what? People or aliens?
Aliens.
Shut up.
No.
So what happened now?
Okay, so Katie and the kids go back to England for a couple of weeks, I think. I think she was going to see her father or come see her mother or whatever. And then her sister became ill. So she got stuck in England a lot longer than she was supposed to. And I was out in Morocco during Ramadan. And I was on my own for 3 weeks. And I remember I was started. There's something called CE5, which is basically human initiated contact. So you do it through meditation, binaural beats, or whatever, and you can put a thought out into the universe. And the idea is that you might see something. So I did this.
This is before your podcast started.
No, I was already doing the podcast.
So you started the podcast. Yeah. All right, okay, and then you do this thing.
So I'm doing the CE5, this meditation thing, and I'm in the house on my own. Nothing happens, and then I go to bed. And then I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm not in my bed anymore. And I'm in this room and I can see these things around me and these sort of just out of focus, these like beings. And I remember like panicking like this. And because I'm like, where the fuck am I? What's going on? I'm panicking. And then all of a sudden I wake up and I'm in my bed. Right. And I was like, was that a dream?
Exactly. I was going to say, how did you know that wasn't just a dream?
We went to the beach the next day. And I got sunburnt. And when I got sunburnt, all these round circular marks started appearing on my legs that wouldn't sunburn. I was like, what? What's this? And they would literally look like little incision marks on both of my legs in like line with each other. And I sort of looked it up online. I was like, why is this skin not tanning? I mean, you're a doctor. You know, if you have an incision that's very, very deep, it can prevent when the skin heals. It can prevent it from tanning because it messes with the melanin in your skin. And then that happened, and I was like, well, that was weird. And to this day, those parts of my legs still don't tan. I've had other things. When last year in Felixstowe, I woke up to a figure at the end of the bed, and scared the crap out of me. And as I was screaming, this thing was screaming back at me. Like my voice wasn't coming out of my mouth; it was coming out of his. And this wasn't an abduction experience. This was something else. This was like, I don't know, ghostly figure or something. So it flies through me. What? I'm sitting up in bed. It flies through me, and it feels like I just got kicked in the chest by a horse. Right. And again, you could say, well, you've just woken up and you've had a dream. I was being interviewed about this on a friend's podcast 2 weeks later, and it was caught on camera. I was describing this ghostly figure that I'd seen in the middle of the night. And as I was describing it on film, you can see this ghostly figure come up out of my forehead on screen and just fly off as I was describing it. And that you can see that online. That's online.
Okie dokie, little break. Folks, as you know, I don't have any sponsors, so this is my own ad. If you're looking for answers for your medical problem, if you want a second opinion, if you're, potentially going for surgery, or you want to review your diagnosis, pick my brains. I offer a consultation service. Visit docmalik.com and you can find where to book. And you can check out over 70 reviews. I've, helped a lot of people out there, ranging from every kind of medical ailment you can think of. And I'd love to help you too. So if this resonates, check out my website. And I just want to say thank you to someone who's just subscribed to my Substack. I've just read their message. CJ writes, I've enjoyed listening to your interviews. Most are not too scary, so I can listen at night, especially with your gentle and well-spoken voice. Well, thank you very much. I admire you for not compromising your ethics, but it is sad that you're no longer able to use your surgical skills. Such a waste for all UK citizens and taxpayers. Keep up the good work and stay safe. Thank you so much. So, folks, if you want to support the show and listen to the full episodes, please check out my website and sign up to my Substack and become a subscriber if you can. Or if you want to listen on Spotify, sign up to my paid channel. And if you want to support me in other ways, check out my website and look at the affiliate codes that I've got. I work with some amazing companies that my family and I use, and I can't recommend them highly enough. And there are discount codes for you. And obviously I get a little commission for every sale. Okay, folks, I hope that was quick and didn't interrupt your show too much. Enjoy the show. Bye-bye. Listen, look, it sounds complete batshit woo-woo. I've had so many conversations now with people.
Yeah.
I'm open to everything.
Yeah.
I've had people sitting here, the most reasonable, sensible, logical kind of people you would ever imagine. And then we stop rolling the camera. And I've had 3 guests now go, this sounds a bit crazy, dog, but I think I can tell you now, I've actually seen UFOs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Well, you know Mark.
I'm not talking about Mark. I'm not talking about Mark.
I know, but I'm saying, but you know, Mark sees UFOs all the time.
I know, right? And who am I to say that you're lying and this is not true and you're crazy? Who knows? Yeah. So going back to that Amy Lansky bit, because it's just fresh in my head, like she talks about how, you know, part of our bodies are, you know, energetic beings that, you know, so for example, you know, our physical body is tied to this ethereal body, which is this electric, you know, magnetic, whatever kind of field. And that's where acupuncture and homeopathy work. Yeah. But then you've got this astral, you know, mental, causal body, which is the soul and spirit, which even when the physical body and ethereal body die, that's you continue on, you live forever. Yeah. And she talks about how if the astral body gets disconnected from the other two, then that can be the ghost or a poltergeist. Yeah. and how you can then reincarnate when you go back up to wherever. Sometimes you go, well, I learned a shitload there, or maybe I didn't learn enough, and I want to go back and try it again.
We choose to be here.
This is what I'm saying.
We're choosing to have this experience because
Absolutely.
I think the feelings and the emotions that we have here, I think we only get to experience them while we're here. So we learn from it. So we chose to be here. And maybe we chose to have a tough life. Maybe we chose all the things, all the adversities that we see. Maybe it's, you know, a training ground, you know, I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, so I was brought up as a Muslim and we were not meant to believe in reincarnation. That was bad stuff. But now, I'm totally open to that as well. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to say I just don't know anything, but I'm open to everything. And with regards to these unidentified foreign objects, you know, someone clarified, look, don't think of it as just as aliens. It might be other interdimensional species. It might be us in a different form. I mean, we just don't know what these things are.
No, we don't. And I think it's more than one thing as well. I think that if you look at the size of the universe and think we're the only ones out there, then I think that's nuts. Because what's the chances of that? What's the probability of that? And then what would be the purpose of that? I think.
So you're not a flat earther then?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
I just don't know anymore about anything.
I will entertain looking at anything, but I would say that I'm not. No. And I think there's just multiple different things. I think there's other dimensions. I think we could be visited from anywhere, anytime, from the future. All of this is possible. Too many weird things have happened to me. I woke up, it was last year, I woke up and I had circular burn marks on both my feet, which I woke up with in the morning, which took weeks and weeks to heal. Yeah, I've still got the scars on both my feet, circular scars on the top of the arch of my foot, and still got the scars from it.
You need to show me later.
I will.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Too many weird things, but I think once you start investigating stuff like this, you open yourself up to it.
Yeah.
Right. Once somebody thinks, oh, it's okay, then these things happen, and I think it happens quite a lot when people start looking into it. You sort of leave yourself open to it.
Do you know another thing? Sounds just as crazy that people have told me is, and these are people who have not even been on the podcast. These are friends of mine, really good friends. They'd be like, "We've actually seen reptiles. We've seen people who are reptiles. Like it just flashed, and we saw them." And I'm like, what?
I've heard that too. I've not experienced it, but yeah.
And I'm like, what? And they're like, I've never told anyone, but I feel I can tell you. Like, seriously, don't think I'm crazy. I mean it, seriously. Like, they were reptilian. And I was like, what? And I was like, wow. And
10 years ago, they wouldn't have said that to you, though.
10 years ago, they wouldn't have said that. And so these are people who have got no reason to tell me. These are people I've known for quite a while, right? They're not controlled agents or anything. These are friends who've got no social media presence, but they now feel comfortable enough to say to me, like, I don't know, like, it's not just David. I've seen, I don't know what it is I saw, but it was definitely reptilian. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's
I know.
bizarre.
I think we know so little. And anybody that can outright say, oh, no, I don't believe in that, that doesn't exist. Like, but how? How do you know that? So if you don't know it for certain, then leave yourself open to things. You know, life's a lot more interesting when you do.
So how many podcasts did you publish on the UFO business?
Oh, we probably must have done a couple of 100 shows.
Oh, that's a lot.
Oh, yeah, we were doing it every week, and then special episodes and stuff like that.
How big a following did you get?
We got, I think the channel's got about 5,500 subscribers to it. But
And is it dead now?
no, it's still sitting there waiting in the wings until I'm ready to do something about it.
Until the next abduction.
Until the next abduction, indeed. But I've just started a new channel actually, which I've literally put the first video up for last week, which has just done amazingly well.
The Andrew Bridgen one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So let's talk about, and then we need to talk about your documentary. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about your documentary first.
Okay.
So you're trying to raise funds.
Yeah.
And you are.
Yes.
But you could always have more.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you're making a documentary about
Yes.
digital ID.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about why you're making it, what's the documentary about, and how does it look, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so digital ID for me, and you know, in a weird way, this does all link together. When you start talking about UFOs and stuff like that, and you start realizing the mechanisms that are working behind the scenes, the reason why things are being kept secret. Okay, and then we start looking at the deep state and all this sort of stuff, and then you realize that all the weird stuff out there actually probably is connected in some way. So digital ID for me was literally like, well, this is the control mechanism for the deep state. This is how they implement everything. This is how they keep everybody in their own little box and make sure everybody behaves like good little boys and girls. And I was like, I can't stand for this. Oh, what's happened?
I don't know.
Oh,
It's not my
somebody's phone
phone.
listening in. Oh, anyway.
Anyway, Karen.
So I just started looking into digital ID more, and I remember them talking about it last year or something, and I was in the pub talking to one of my friends, and I was like, yeah, they're never going to bring it in, though. They're never going to bring it in. I was like, they are. This is going to happen. Mark my words, this is going to happen. And I was like, this is not okay. And I want to do something about it. So what can I do, you know? And I was like, I'm going to make a documentary. But actually, it started off me recording it on my iPhone at home going, I'm just going to do this. It's going to be half an hour. It's going to go on YouTube. I do some editing for a guy in Canada who does UFO documentaries, and I sent him like the first rough draft of the first half an hour. He goes, mate, you should do this as a documentary. Like I've got contacts. We can get it on Amazon. We can get it on Apple TV. You know, film it properly. Do it. Let's do it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I will. So now I've just sort of thrown myself into it full time. It's pretty much the only thing that I'm working on. Well, I'm now working on something else, which I'll tell you about in a second. But that comes on from the Andrew Bridgen thing. And the aim of the documentary is to show the history of ID. You know, why it came in the UK in the first place at the end of the Second World War, how we turned round and said, no, we don't want this, and how we fought back, how we managed to fight back then, what digital ID means for us right now, what it effects it's going to have on our life, and also then playing it forward into what life looks like 10 years down the line if we allow this to carry on, because we are going to end up in a very dystopian future. You think the government is controlling everything now, just wait till digital ID's in, you know, and that for me is a really scary thought. So if I can do something to raise awareness and get people to fight back against these agendas, then I'm going to do it.
Okay, so I never normally do this. I normally wait till the end of the podcast, but tell people where they can find you and how they can support and fund your documentary.
Okay, so the best way to find me is on X, which is at Digby Furneaux. So that's FURNEAUX. Or you can go to my website, which is Anomalous Media. So that's www.anommedia.com. There's links on there to my GoFundMe. My current target is 5,000, although I'm probably going to increase that because I want to go over to the States and start getting, you know, the story from a wider perspective rather than just our little island, because it's much bigger than that. But at the moment, I've raised 1,000 so far of my £5,000 target. I've got loads more interviews to do. I went to interview Andrew Bridgen, which is what we were just talking about, which was an amazing interview. I went to interview that man about digital ID, and I got everything. So you can see that online as well. But yeah, I just think digital ID is a really important hill to die on, and I think we need to prevent it.
Let's talk about it then. So, you said, I want to talk about what's happening right now and what the future will look like. Tell us, what does it look like now?
15-minute cities, look how many arrests there are in the country already for things that people have said online. Right. And you may go, well, I didn't agree with what they said. And that's fine. You have the right to say, I don't agree with them. They also have the right to say it. Okay. You don't need to listen. To put somebody in jail for 36 months because of something that they said online, I think is ridiculous. And that, I'm not endorsing what they've said, by the way. That's completely different. That's not okay. You bring in digital ID, you're connected to everything, so they can penalise you. They don't need to. The police don't need to come and knock at your door when you've got digital ID. You can just, your participation will be rejected in society, in the sense of you bring in. You talk about AI and robotics and how many people are going to lose their jobs. So where's your money going to come from? Your money's going to come from from the government. You'll be on universal basic income, or as Elon Musk likes to think, universal high income. Whichever it may be, doesn't matter. When that's tied in with your digital ID, if you misbehave online or you don't toe the line, what's going to happen? You don't need the police knocking at your door. Your money will just go down. Your participation in society will be withdrawn from you. We're already starting to see carbon footprints being printed on food labels. Talks of 15-minute cities and only being able to drive your car so far, or the tax they're now putting on electric cars. Why are they doing that? Well, because it's electric. So if you go too far in the future, then turn your car off. All under the guise of saving the environment, because apparently we're killing the environment. Remains to be seen, because, as far as I'm aware, London should have been underwater 20 years ago, and it's not. There's so many lies that we are told to make us behave in a certain way, to make people rich. I mean, look at what happened in COVID. Look at the testing they did there. Without even talking about the jabs, what did everybody have to download on their app, on their phone? An app. Track and trace. They knew where everybody was. They knew how close everybody was to somebody else. Your phone was pinging out data via Bluetooth all the time to figure out who you're with, where you are, and how much time you spent with them. They used that data. That piece of software is going to, that technology that was developed for that piece of software, that's going to be on everybody's digital ID. That's going to be on your phone. The government is going to know who you are, what you do, what you spend your money on, who you're hanging out with, what you say online, and they're going to be the ones responsible for paying you your wages. So what do you do if you've got an employee that's, stepping out of line? And that's what our future looks like. And I want to do everything to make sure that isn't what our future looks like. And the only way of doing that is to wake people up. And people say, you know what, if somebody's not awake, you can't wake them up, you can't force them to wake up. I get that, yeah, but you can give them the information in a way that they're used to hearing that information, right? And you can give them the facts, you can give them the data, and you can give it to them in, a palatable way that they're going to understand it, which is why I want to do this documentary, and I want to do it well.
Good luck. So
Thanks.
I've heard the infrastructure is being built right now for the digital ID, and then if you listen to people like Claire Wills, Lawyers of Light, you should have her on your documentary. Do you have her details?
No, I don't actually, no.
Do you know what? Why don't I give you all these details and we do some introductions?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
They'd be really good people to get on your documentary. Have you had Ian Davis on?
I haven't yet, no.
Do you know Ian Davis?
I do know of Ian Davis. I don't know him personally. I have a list at the moment, and Fiona, who organised the digital ID rally that I first saw you at, she's getting me in contact with a load of people as well, which is being really helpful. I'm going up to interview her in February, which is going to be great. But interviewing Andrew was brilliant. Andrew Bridgen, his...
So one thing about that, and before I move on about digital ID again, Did you mean to have your voice so quiet?
No.
Or did you not have a mic and that's the issue?
No. So originally what happened was I was mic'd up, he was mic'd up, right? But his the clip on his mic was dicking around, so I just gave him mine. But also originally, you have to remember that originally that was filmed for part of a documentary.
Yes.
So I was literally just going to cut the bits I wanted. I didn't need me.
Yes.
Yeah. It was just about him. So I wasn't that bothered. And I thought I was going to interview this man about digital ID. I had him for 4 hours, basically. I had an hour and a half on camera and the rest of it just talking, because if you know Andrew, then you know that when he starts talking, he will never stop talking. But in a good way, Andrew, if you're watching.
He's been here twice, so I know all about it.
Yeah. So, and then he just gave me everything. You know, we started talking about COVID. We started talking about Ukraine. We started talking about trafficking, Parliament and bribes, and and then some of the things he told me off camera, which were even bigger than the stuff he said on camera, which I won't mention because I don't want to get him in trouble. But it's shocking when you realise actually how evil the system is and how evil the people are in it. It's horrific. I mean, I came away from that interview, I don't think I slept properly for about a week afterwards, because everything he said was just going on round and round in my head.
These people make the mafia look like kindergarten.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, it's horrific. We're talking about, organ harvesting, trafficking of people, children, the real reason behind the agendas that are going on in the world, and Ukraine, and
So what's the real reason about Ukraine?
Well, the Ukrainians aren't fighting the war anymore because there isn't any of them left. It's.
So who's fighting it?
I will say this from my opinion, because I don't want to get anybody else in trouble. But it's NATO, and they don't talk about it because otherwise we'd be in World War III. This information is saved. I mean,
but if
2 years
NATO,
ago they were taking people off the streets because they ran out of people.
But if it's NATO, you'd have soldiers dying, and those families would need to be told why their sons have died.
Yeah.
So it would come out, though, wouldn't it?
You'd be amazed at what doesn't come out. No, I'm just basing this on what I've been told. But it's amazing how easy it is to make people shut up. People, I think everybody thinks, governments can't keep secrets. They can, and they do, because they have dirt on everybody. That's how it works. That's why, everybody on each side of the aisle know the dirt on the other person. So they don't spread the dirt because people have got dirt on them, right? And it's the same. It's the same thing. You compromise people, and then you have control. Look, when it comes to the Ukraine thing, I as I say, it's not something I've investigated. It's something that I've been told. And then trafficking out of it, and organ trafficking, and all this sort of stuff. There's so much horrible, evil, satanic stuff going on in the world at the moment that if you knew the truth, it would make your blood boil. And I always say the same thing to people when I talk about satanic stuff. It's not, you don't have to believe in God, right? You don't have to believe in Satan. All you have to do is believe that somebody does, and they're prepared to act in the name of that. Yeah, and that's the truth. Doesn't matter if God is real or Satan's real. In this context, it matters if other people believe it.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
Okay, let's go back to digital ID. So,
the lighter subject.
the lighter subject. So people like Claire Wills and Ian Davis have made it very clear now, and I've looked into it, that digital ID is already here.
Yeah.
So we have biometric ID, passports. We've got digital ID, driver's license. Everything's scannable, barcodable, whatever. But all these forms of ID, credit cards, whatever, are all in different silos.
Yes, correct.
And what the government wants to do is put them all in one silo with a back door that opens up to private corporations.
Yeah.
And they will be able to share that data. And the government can then, with that siloed digital ID, then tie that to your wallet, tie that to digital currency.
Correct.
And then that's the whole shebang. Then we're, so right now there's lots of different prisons we walk into, in and out. They want us to put us all into one cell. Then they want to shut the door and then lock the key.
Yeah.
And they haven't got that far yet. They've just built the prisons, but we can walk in and out of the cells.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do that anymore. They want to really control us. So we've actually come quite a long way in. And when, Keir Starmer says, "Oh, we've rolled it back, and we're not going to, mandate it and enforce it anymore." That was a hard stick, but the carrot's still there. So digital ID is not gone away. They're going to make it so that, it's just convenient.
Yeah.
So first it's like, getting your passport renewed, getting married, getting a driver's license. It's just so much easier if you just upload it and do your this and that, and you get your thing. And if you do the alternative, they're going to make it really hard for you.
Yeah.
Then once they've got rid of the convenience, making it harder, then they're going to start penalizing you. So if you don't do the digital ID and want an alternative back, you're going to have to pay more.
Yeah.
It's going to take longer, and you're going to have to pay more. It's going to be complete faff, and you're going to be penalized. And then eventually they're going to make it not possible that you can function in society without it.
Yeah.
And it'll be the same with cash.
Yeah.
So for example, the digital currency, that you might get 5,000 digital pounds in your bank account if you sign up straight away. Oh my God, you got free money, 5,000 digital pounds. And then it'll be like, oh, it's so easy. It's so much fun. It's like boom, boom. And you get a tax reduction, just like electric cars, you don't need to pay tax on it for the first few years. It'll be like, oh, it's amazing. You don't need to pay congestion charge. So they'll try and get as many people on board as possible. And when they don't, then they'll say, right, if you're still using cash, you're going to have to pay higher tax, fines, fees. And then eventually it'll be like cash is outlawed. You can't use it. So it's like stages.
Yeah, it will. And that's
everything is the same. And they're doing that with digital ID. And the reason why they've rolled back the mandate is they give us a scare, but they haven't actually got rid of the agenda. And they're hoping that people are voluntarily going to sign up to it. And unfortunately, most people are.
Yeah, I think them turning around and saying that they were taking away mandatory digital ID for right to work checks was literally a distraction.
Yeah.
And it worked very briefly. A lot of people came online, even Rupert Lowe was like, oh, we won. And I was like, hang on a second. No, we haven't. No way in hell. Yeah. And then I saw a post by, what are they called? Big Brother Watch or whatever they're called. One of these funded activist groups. And it was like, oh, we won. And I was like, that's really naive for you to say that, actually, and that's sending out the wrong message.
Are they, or are they part of the intelligence operation?
This is what I'm just about to
I'm being
tell you.
serious.
They are. They're funded by George Soros. I did some digging, and they're funded by George Soros. So they are, in my opinion, they are organised,
controlled opposition.
They're controlled opposition is exactly what they are.
Limited hangout.
Because I'm looking at them going, how are you guys funded? Seriously, you've got offices, you've got full-time members of staff. How are you funded? Where's this money coming from? And then you dig into it, and there was a project they did a couple of years ago that all their funding came from George Soros.
Nice.
So it's like, so there you go.
Nice. Talking about George Soros, I just wrote a Substack about the Board of Peace and the whitewashing of the ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza.
Right.
I don't know if
Light
you know
subject. No, I don't know.
So Trump is just, and his son-in-law Jared Kushner launched at Davos at the WEF annual meeting of all places a lovely property development presentation.
Yeah.
And on this Board of Peace is, someone who worked with George Soros, was his director of Open something source. You've got the Fabian, Tony Blair, the ghoul, with 1 million Iraqis on his, blood on his hands. You've got all this collection of, dictators, Lukashenko, torturers in the Middle East and whatnot. And all these Jewish Israeli billionaires, and it's like, this is the Board for Peace. I mean, you could not get a more ragtag bunch of misfits, dictators, and tyrants. And if that's what peace looks like, heaven forbid what the alternative would look like. But they're everywhere. The Soros people, the Fabians, and the fact that Trump is having these kind of people. I mean, some people would be like, oh, well, keep your enemies close, and he's playing 5D chess. No, it's not. They're all in the same club. The thing is, I also wrote about this in X, that the powers at large, the parasite class, when they realize that people are waking up to the scam, and they're waking up to the scams of life, and they're waking up to the fact that, you know, politics is an illusion and a pantomime.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing along a charismatic leader, and that charismatic leader will give some concessions. So some superficial, disposable agendas like wokeism and trans agenda will be thrown away. Even defund the WHO. So it makes it look like, you know what, this guy's a genuine actor and he's winning against the bad people and we need to support him. But actually, if you look at the core red lines, they never get crossed. Digital ID is still marching ahead.
Yeah.
Digital currency is still marching ahead. You know, the whole migration business is still happening, whether people say it or not. The destruction of the West is happening. And, you know, you can't question Israel. You can't question Zionism. You can't talk about the banking, Bank of International Settlements and the financial Ponzi scheme that we have as the current, you know, usury debt-based money. We can't talk about that. These are the red lines. But then all the other little topics, I mean, they can throw them out and, you know, dispose of them. So you feel like you've got people who are genuinely fighting our corner. But, you know, I don't think Trump and Farage are going to be fighting digital ID. I think it's still part of their agenda. They're still pushing it ahead.
I think it's part of everybody's agenda. Like Andrew said, you know, the consultation originally for digital ID was done under the Conservative government, right after they sort of outlawed it. You know, we had Blair leave and then the coalition government come in. You had Nick Clegg speaking up on the news going, you know, digital ID is out the window. They burnt all the records of it. You know, it's gone. At the same time, you've got David Cameron, you know, doing the consultation for digital ID. So they show you one thing and then they do something completely different. And you have to realize that this stuff then transcends who's in power. So it was started by the Conservatives, but now Labour's delivering it. It doesn't matter who you vote for in our political system. It's the same people that are always going to end up in charge. And if you think that we ended up with Keir Starmer by accident, we didn't. It's all a plan. It's all theatre. You know, our politics is broken, you know, and this is one thing I was talking to Andrew about. And I said, so what would your alternative be? It's like, you've got to pay MPs properly. Double the size of the constituencies, so you half the amount of MPs. You get rid of the House of Lords and you make the people the House of Lords. And everything that gets voted into law has to be voted for by the people. And I'm like, yeah, I completely agree. And then you take away the ability.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and then you take away, they're paid properly, you take away the ability for them to earn money from anywhere else, any investments, nothing. They're barred for that for X amount of years, even after they come out.
Yeah, no revolving doors business. No. You know, how many people, you know, promote something and pass legislation, and then when they leave, they're suddenly, you know, non-executive board director, getting paid $10,000 a month for attending one meeting a quarter or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know, and our political system is just ripe for corruption, and that's what we've got, and we've got it all around the world. It's so corrupt. Do you know what I get really sick and tired of? Right?
Tell me.
You. How many times do we get beaten with the stick that mankind is this warfaring civilization and we're barbaric and everything like that? We're not. My instinct isn't to be angry and to be aggressive ever, really.
Really? Oh, do you know the moment you walked in, I just wanted to punch you in the face. I just wanted to kick you in the balls.
We are told that we are this angry race of, you know, primates. We're not.
I'm not. You are. You're white. So I mean, jeez.
But the people that control us, the people that represent us are.
Yes.
You know, but we're not them.
Exactly.
You know, it's like we're told that we're this thing all the time and we're not. And I think people actually just need to reach inside themselves and realize, you know, that mankind, I don't think mankind is like that. But we are being ruled all around the world by evil, sadistic bastards who, you know, want to depopulate us by 90% and have the world for themselves. You know, this is what's going on.
Do you know what? I so agree with you. And the thing is that, you know, if you watched nothing but TV, just imagine you lived in your living room, you got a drone to drop off your Domino's pizza and your vapes and your alcohol, and all you did was watch Netflix, you'd think the world outside is really horrible and evil. And that in all these other countries, they're all run by barbarians and they're all rapists, murderers, drug gangbangers, you know, name it. And then but if you've actually traveled, and I have, I'm blessed, you know, I've been to far out places like Malaysia and Indonesia, Australia and Tanzania and, Egypt and Morocco and, UAE and Kuwait and, Pakistan. I've traveled quite a bit, and Europe and all that kind of stuff. And what's really striking is you go to all these very different places, and most people are just so nice.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I can't remember any time when I met anyone who wasn't nice and decent. And I don't remember getting mugged by anyone. And, I've been, as a kid, I've been molested and abused by people. But you know what? Guess what? They were within the families or whatever. Or, the average person that you go and meet on the street, adult, they're just normal people just trying to get on with their life.
Yeah, they are.
No one's trying to mug you or kill you or change your religion or behead you or whatever. And that's not to say that crime doesn't exist. Actually, crime happens everywhere. And it's the same, like literally all countries, there's bad people everywhere. There's a small cohort of just bad people, but the majority of people are good. But the evil parasites want you to be fighting and scared of each other and fighting each other, and whether you're black or brown or whatever. And even if you're the same color, they still want you fighting amongst each other, Protestant and Catholic, or, working class and upper class or middle class. They will find some reason to
divide and conquer.
To divide and conquer.
Yeah.
And so it's not even racial, ethnic, religious, it's class as well, it's sex. It's everything. They will just gendered, like they just want us fighting, and that's what we need to stop. We need to realize that actually the battle isn't between us. It's between the oppressed and our oppressors.
Yes, absolutely.
By the people who are governed and the people who are governing us without our consent.
Yeah,
that's the real battle. Yeah. That's the true enemy.
It is, and people need to wake up to it. People don't like to think that these evil things actually exist, but they do, and they just blanket go, "Oh yeah, but that can't be true." You can show them, evidence, and they go, "Oh yeah, but it's not true, is it?" It's like, well, I've just shown you evidence. What's your argument? They don't even have one. Their brain can't compute it. They've been MK Ultra'd their entire life through the media and propaganda, and now through social media. Everybody is programmed, and people need to break out of that programming and realize what's being done to them, realize the lies that are being told to them. Because otherwise, we are going to end up with a situation where they are finding ways already of killing everybody off. Look what happened during COVID. What's happening now with everybody that's getting cancer. Look at, there's a million different things. Look at all the things that we're now trying to do in the name of, climate change. I saw yesterday that they're now starting these experiments, although I believe they've already been doing them for a long time anyway, of blocking out the sun in the UK. Who gave them the bloody right to do that? Yeah? And why should one country be able to do that, or allowed to decide that fate for the rest of the world? You're spraying something up in the air. It doesn't magically stay just over the United Kingdom. Oh, we're just going to block out our part of the sun. I don't think it really works like that, does it? It gets dispersed. And this is one of the things, one of the parts I haven't actually released of my conversation with Andrew was done at the end, and it was about climate change and about the aluminium oxide that's being found in the ground, which is, obviously it's aluminium. It can only be made by man. Therefore, they are spraying it up in the skies, and it's included in it. And uranium. They're literally poisoning us.
If you want to hear the rest of this conversation and join our private supporter community, the link is in the show notes. Remember, folks, your support keeps this work free, independent, and alive, simply for the cost of one coffee a month. All right, folks, thank you so much. I, Ahmed Malik, am a private civilian protected by the Geneva Convention. My Substack, social media posts, and podcasts are my personal experiences, observations, and opinions. This information is for educational purposes only. Although I am a doctor, I am not your doctor, and I am not providing medical or legal advice to you or to the wider public. I am not licensed or registered with the GMC or any other licensing board. The responsibility for the interpretation, due diligence, and use of the information from my Substack and my podcast lies with you, the viewer and or listener. Please do your research and use your discernment. It is not my intention to harass, intimidate, offend, defame, conspire, blackmail, coerce, or cause anxiety, alarm, or distress to any man or woman, and the information presented here is done so with peaceful and honourable intentions. Enjoy, folks.